Good morning and welcome to the news at 10 on the network service of the NTA. My name is Blessing Abu.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori. Many thanks for joining us on the news, reaching you live from Abuja. Now let's take the headlines.
NCDC announces 307 new cases of COVID-19 in the country, bringing the number of confirmed cases to 10,162.
President Muhammadu Buhari engages members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 as extension of ease of lockdown ends today.
We've not reached the peak yet. And I wouldn't want to fool Nigerians by telling them that we are out of the woods. No, we are not out of the woods.
Nigeria Medical Association Jigawa State Chapter records first medical personnel casualty of COVID-19.
Plus, correspondent examines major economic highlights of the Buhari administration 5 years down the line.
The news in full. As at Sunday, 31st May 2020, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced 307 new cases of COVID-19 in the country, bringing the number of confirmed cases to 10,162. Of the 307 new cases, Lagos has 188, Federal Capital Territory 44, Ogun 19, Kaduna 14, Oyo 12, Bayelsa 9, while Gombe recorded 5 cases. Kano and Delta have 3 new coronavirus cases each. Imo, Rivers, Niger, and Bauchi have 2 cases each, while Plateau and Kwara have 1 case apiece. Lagos still tops the COVID-19 cases chart table with 4,940 cases, followed by Kano with 954 cases, and the Federal Capital Territory with 660 cases. 3,007 patients who recovered have been discharged, with 287 deaths so far.
And the Nigeria Medical Association Jigawa State Chapter has confirmed the death of one of its members in Jigawa State, Dr. Nasir Adam, who died of COVID-19 infection. The deceased, aged 36, was a staff of the Federal Medical Center, Birnin Kudu. He developed respiratory infection problems and was later confirmed to be coronavirus positive. Correspondent Abdullah Garba Birnin Kudu reports that this is the first medical personnel casualty recorded in Jigawa State under the COVID-19 phenomenon.
President Muhammadu Buhari on Sunday engaged members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 on further measures towards containing the pandemic, as 2 weeks extension of the ease of lockdown ends today.
The chairman of the task force and secretary to the government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, led members to the meeting where feelers emerged that more segments of the economy may be reopened as the battle against the uncommon health challenge ravages on. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
Members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 were in the State House to submit their 4th interim report as the nation intensifies efforts at controlling and containing the coronavirus pandemic. At the interactive engagement, President Muhammadu Buhari and the PTF delegation appraised the progress achieved in the last 2 weeks, challenges encountered, as well as available options on the best way forward.
As far as the work of the PTF is concerned, he was upfront with his commendation, and he assured us that the nation is fully behind us in the work that he has charged us to do. And he is also appreciative of the work of the frontline workers. And we also discussed the issues of compliance. And he said we should continue to appeal to Nigerians and drive home the point that it is a personal responsibility.
Is Nigeria winning this fight against COVID-19?
We are winning. We are winning. As a matter of fact, you just suppose the rate of cases with our fatality rates, which is basically about 3%. Other countries and other climes is over 10%. We've not reached the peak yet. And I wouldn't want to fool Nigerians by telling them that we are out of the woods. No, we are not out of the woods. As we even open up and accommodate more enterprises, because we are trying to have a balance between livelihoods and lives. There's a likelihood of the increase in cases, but that should not be a source of despair.
Although Nigeria now has close to 10,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and nearly 300 fatalities, some states are yet to be in tune with the reality of the situation. Apart from failing to cooperate with the NCDC as regards the containment drive, worship centers have also been reopened by some of them contrary to the social distancing protocol.
That's part of what we have considered in its totality. I would await Mr. President's decision on that once I receive his approval going forward as to certain recommendations that we have put in place. But I can assure you about one thing, that the ownership of the next phase will be the responsibility of the states under national supervision and coordination. And it is very, very important we realize that no state can be an island unto itself. When you deal with public health matters, whatever happens in a particular locality has the consequences of spilling off to other constituencies. And that is the message that we continue to drive in our pursuit of getting everybody to be on board.
As the 2 weeks extension of the ease of COVID-19 lockdown ends on Monday, indications are that most segments of the nation's economy will be reopened.
After we receive Mr. President's approval tonight or tomorrow morning, we will now know which segment of the economy he has allowed to open.
Nigeria recorded her first index case of coronavirus on February 27, 2020. And since then, President Muhammadu Buhari, who is the champion of COVID-19 in West Africa and adjudged a role model for other nations by the World Health Organization, had addressed the nation 3 times. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Now, for the federal government to thrive in its fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, efforts must be channeled towards assisting all states of the Federation in combating the disease.
This is the position of the Cross River State's government during an update on the state's COVID-19 status. Justina Etem reports.
Despite the rising case of COVID-19 in the country, Cross River State remains the only state yet to report any confirmed case of the disease. However, the COVID-19 free status of the state has generated controversy as the State Commissioner for Health says there is conspiracy and pressure from different quarters that the state is concealing cases of COVID-19.
As a state at this point, we want to clearly say we've fought a good fight. We have run our race.
Dr. Edu says the hype given to coronavirus by relevant authorities is undermining the management of other diseases, thereby jeopardizing the health of several Nigerians who are now afraid to visit health facilities.
I'm sure we were like the very first state in Nigeria that distributed 5,300 PPEs in January to both the teaching hospital, general hospitals across the state, primary health care centers, of course, the military, paramilitary, private hospitals.
The commissioner believes that if the federal government gives more assistance to the states, there will be the ability to meet its requirements in the area of testing, surveillance, and more. In Calabar, Justina Etem, NTA News.
In an effort to further increase the capacity of Kano State government in the fight against coronavirus pandemic, a philanthropist has donated a more sophisticated COVID-19 testing machine.
The equipment GeneXpert presented to the Bayero University Center for Infectious Disease Research is adjudged by experts to be faster and easier to operate. Lawal Salau Inwa reports.
The donation of the medical equipment to the Bayero University Center for Infectious Disease Research, which was accredited by NCDC earlier in May this year to complement the existing COVID-19 testing centers in the state, is seen by many as the right step in the right direction. Receiving the items on behalf of the center, the Vice Chancellor of the University, Professor Ihuza Bello, appreciated the gesture, saying the machine will accelerate the success of the state in stemming the spread of the highly contagious disease.
Another advantage of the machine, as being explained by experts, is that it can be used to test for other infectious diseases such as TB. So to be very useful to the teaching hospital, to the Center for Researches into Infectious Diseases, not only COVID-19, but other types of infectious diseases.
This new machine can do 40 in a day. So when we put it side by our 270 test capacity, it is over 300 in a day. At least it is a step in the right direction, although we are still working towards increasing the capacity of the lab to do much more tests.
Representative for the philanthropist Salus Ibrahim Balarabi, who commended the efforts of the workers at the front line, said the support was born out of desire to save humanity and rid the state of the pandemic. Lawal Salau Inwa, NTA News.
Kano State Commissioner for Information Malam Mohammed Garba says 1,018 samples from suspected COVID-19 cases were submitted to the 3 testing centers in the state for testing between May 23 and 30. A statement released says, based on available data from the State Task Force on COVID-19, 72 were found to be positive. The statement adds that during the same period, 881 of the samples tested came out negative, while 42 are on follow-up test. 28 have to be repeated. Malam Garba explains further that data on track of pending results from laboratories in Kano and National Reference Laboratory Abuja also indicates that Bayero University Kano Laboratory has the highest sample test, followed by Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital. The Commissioner calls on the public to always observe safety and prevention protocols.
The African Scholars Care Initiative, ASCI, a non-governmental organization, has, in sequence of its impact in humanitarian activities amid the coronavirus pandemic, reached out to children with the Wash Your Hands campaign, coming with the tag, "Running water is a must." Justin Bemoy reports.
Wash your hands with soap under running water. This has been one out of the major tools advocated by professionals in the fight against the coronavirus disease. It is a culture expected to be imbibed by the adults and children to curb spread of the pandemic. Now, the NGO, African Scholars Care Initiative, has taken it upon itself to extend this awareness to the children, especially at this time of the year when they celebrated their day. The aim is to inculcate the culture of hand washing under running water at every given time, and this was in the light of provision of a multi-million naira water borehole at the LEA Primary School in Jahi, Abuja.
Medium to call for partnerships and support to this cause of running water is a must, so that the federal government can call back school children to school when all these modalities are put in place to help curb the spread.
And very soon schools will resume, and then everything gets back to normal, slowly but surely. I expect all school administrators to ensure that they have running water in their schools. Like a project like this is a very brilliant project. They can sink boreholes or even more boreholes and ensure that the children grow up to understand the importance of washing their hands. Hygiene, very important.
This awareness did not come bare, but with the distribution of palliatives to the children and the community. Foodstuffs alongside hand sanitizers, liquid soaps, and other aid, including face masks, were distributed to strengthen protection in containing the novel coronavirus pandemic. African Scholars Care Initiative is an organization founded on the fundamentals of providing education, empowerment, and scholarship grants to African children amongst families and communities below average income earning, starting with Nigerians from across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. In Abuja, Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
As part of activities marking the Nigerian Navy at 64, the Central Naval Command, Bayelsa State, has donated palliatives to Agudama APA community.
Handing over the palliatives to the community, Flag Officer Commanding Central Naval Command, Rear Admiral S.S. Garba says the gesture is a social responsibility to their host community. Chris Owibo reports.
Flag Officer Commanding Central Naval Command, Yenegua Bayelsa State, used the opportunity to emphasize the reality of the coronavirus disease and the need to stop the spread of the disease. He also used the medium to appreciate the leadership of the Agudama APA community for the cordial relationship.
In line with the civil-military cooperation and as part of our corporate social responsibility, we are presenting these gifts to them to make them understand how that we know how they feel. And we also urge them to know that the Nigerian Navy is a partner in security and a partner in the times of need.
For them to have chosen Agudama as a community, for them to share this palliative, we are very much happy.
We'll try our best to see to it that it's being shared to the right people.
The donation is part of the Navy's corporate social responsibility to their host communities. In Yenegua, Chris Owibo, NTA News.
NTA News 24's News at 10 is reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. Still to come.
5 years of Nigerian economy under President Muhammadu Buhari. Details when we return after this break.
COVID-19 transmission is mostly through droplets from sneezing and saliva. The most effective way to protect yourself from the virus is to practice good personal hygiene. Wash hands with soap under running water or use an alcohol-based sanitizer if water is not available. Maintain at least 2 meters distance between yourself and anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Cover your mouth and nose with your elbow or tissue when you cough or sneeze. Dispose of the used tissue immediately. And you have a fever, cough, or breathing difficulty, call NCDC toll-free numbers before going to the hospital. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Thank you for staying tuned into News at 10. Making payments for transactions can be done in many ways, and in this report, Kolo Mohammed takes a look at the point of sale, that's POS, the means of retail transaction, its prospects, problems, and practice.
At different times in the day, payment is sought, and the means to attain it differ according to the time and place. The banks, over time, have largely moved out of the hold, and what you need for a transaction is just a mobile phone. Point of sale, POS for short services, initially were found on business premises, enabling cashless transactions. Outside the business areas are now cash points, where the service providers seek areas where banking services are either absent or insufficient. In their mostly little kiosks, they jostle for space with formal banks in the provision of financial services which include cash withdrawal, deposit, transfer, and payment for goods and services purchased in busy districts of the cities. Their locations seem a walk on a tightrope as the lonely roads pose their own challenges, the bulk of which are security-based. They have become easy targets for robbers, extortionists, and sometimes kidnappers. Past experiences determine security imperatives employed to be safe. Most of them now operate in busy areas and cage themselves up on business tools properly. Robbery concern has fizzled out drastically.
The challenges we are facing here is most customers will come that they want to withdraw, that they will do transfer through their phone. At the end, they will now show you, look at, it's approved, it's delivered, look at it, it has entered your phone. It has entered your POS, then give me cash. Once we give the person cash, at the end, when you check your account balance, you won't see the money inside your account balance. You understand? Meanwhile, that means the person has sent you fake alerts. You understand? At the end, you lose. So with that, we have to, like, whenever you want to withdraw, if you didn't come with your card, we can't give you money. If you say, let you use your phone to transfer for us, we'll tell you we don't do that.
If it happened like that and I transfer through my phone, the person did not see it, some bank did not bring alert immediately. If it happened, may the person check his or her account balance. If that the person did not see it truly, may the person go to a bank to print statement of accounts come, so that we will know how to solve the problem.
Even last week, I'm dupe, serious, 30,000 naira, and it pained me so much because for this hot sun, can you imagine? You stay here, see heat, this kind of heat, someone will just come and collect 30,000 naira. So
how did it happen? How did he do
that? He wants to do transfer to me, so I don't know that. He have shown me it successfully, he even show it to me for his phone, so I don't know that it's fake alert.
Retail transactions take place frequently. Cash payment is needed, and the point of sale service, POS for short, keeps business going and transactions flying.
Public analysts say being responsible is what makes leaders accountable in outstanding the Nigerian economy, and that the present administration, experts say, has been in a steady growth trajectory.
Now, this report, correspondent Chimobi Walter Naji takes a look at major economic highlights of the Buhari administration 5 years down the line.
The Buhari administration entered with so much enthusiasm on ways to deliver on its change mantra, especially on the economy, which at the time was slipping into recession. The economic team put together by the administration came up with a blueprint aimed at serving as a short-term plan to reposition the economy for growth. Reviewing the implementation of the plan, which is expiring by December 2020, economic experts say it has seen the country's GDP remain on a positive growth from the fourth quarter of 2017 to the end of first quarter of 2020, despite the ravaging coronavirus pandemic.
You know, the ERGP was formulated as a sort of a medium-term plan, 2017 to 2020, isn't it? And it addressed several sectors, about 5 sectors. So, and of course, in most planning, it has to be costed. And so they have to bring in private sector angle too, to participate. So that's why the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. You know, the federal government is also putting its own fund, but they expected a lot of private sector participation. And there's been a tremendous interest shown by the private sector investors from abroad, from Nigeria and what have you.
We have consistently have growth in our GDP up to this last quarter that has just passed, and I think that is quite commendable. Growth may not have been as was expected because ERGP had looked at having a 7% growth, but the important thing is that the growth itself had been very, very consistent.
Respondents also believe that some of the economic policies, like the border closure, return to the budget cycle from January to December, and central bank interventions in both manufacturing and agricultural sectors are pointers to the administration's strive to make the Nigerian economy the strongest in Africa and one of the leading economies in the world.
The border closure was another nice punch on the Nigerian economy.
a punch that helped the economy to revive and also boosted the non-oil sector, like I talked about earlier. The closure of the border, as at that point, was important to halt the influx of goods that were banned. Another area that the government has actually really done well in the last 1 year is with monetary policy management. If you look at exchange rates that was pegged at 305 to a dollar last year was maintained.
You know that economic effects often take a lag. We'll see the effects. Give it a lag time and the effects will begin to show up. But this time we still need to work hard. We still need to really dig our legs in the sand and try to put up our acts properly. We need, part of what we need to really do within the ARGP is to be innovative and creative.
With the assurance given by the presidential economic team to revamp the nation's economy, it is expected that by the end of the second tenure of the Buhari administration, Nigerians will heave a sigh of relief. In Abuja, I'm Chimubi Walter Naji, NTA News.
The Buhari Support Organization Southeast has commended President Muhammad Buhari for signing into law the financial autonomy of state houses of assembly and the judiciary using the Executive Order 10. The organization, in a statement after a virtual meeting in Enugu, maintained that Executive Order 10 has set the stage for genuine development at the local level. The Buhari Support Organization noted that the doctrine of true federalism is better served and indeed actualized when there is independent legislature and judiciary at the state level. It explained that the first-line charge funding of state legislatures and judiciary will in the long run be a win-win situation for the collective good of strengthening institutions at all levels.
You're watching the news at 10 on the network service of the NTA. Another break beckons. We'll be right back with more stories.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media.